Hey everybody, my name is Margo and I am a doula trainer here at the Indie Birth Association, and I'm so excited to be doing this today. I haven't done a live in here in a really long time, and today we are going to talk with Doula Angelia. Ooh, she's ready. I'm gonna bring her on before I introduce her. Let's see. Oh my gosh, hi!
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you very well.
Awesome.
I was just saying that I'm so excited to talk to you today. This is Doula Angelia of Bending Willow Birth, and we are going to talk about Angelia's personal journey transitioning from a mainstream doula training to the transformative Indie Birth Doula Academy. Well, I'm so excited. I've got questions for you. We've got some people watching, and there will be a replay for people who weren't able to make it on live. I guess before I jump into my questions, do you want to say a little bit more about yourself and introduce your lovely self?
Yeah, sure. So I am Angelia. I have been a doula. It'll be 5 years this September, I believe. And yeah, I started off with a kind of more mainstream doula training. And I know you're asking me questions about this, but then I went into more of a transformative training. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today. And I'm excited to be here with you and to share more about my journey.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've got questions for Angelia, but if you have questions as well, you are welcome to pop them in the comments and I should be able to see them. Like I said, I haven't done a Facebook Live in a long time, so I'm a little rusty with the tech. I've been on Instagram more often than not. So if you're not following us over on Instagram, you should also go do that at Indie Birth on Instagram. Okay, so I've got a bunch of questions for you. I think there were 2 questions people asked over in the group, Become a Badass Doula. So I was going to pull those up too as we go, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where we go. I know we often get a lot of questions about business stuff, and I have a few business related questions for you. If you're watching and you have that kind of question, just hold tight. I think we'll probably get to it, but also feel free to pop them in the comments down below. Okay, so tell us a little bit, what initially drew you to the field of doula work, and yeah, what's your origin story? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have actually I've not gone through the journey of motherhood yet. I've not had kids, but in high school, feels like a long time ago, I studied human child development for 3 years. It was like my career pathway, and our teacher actually taught us about doulas. And I remember being so fascinated and just like intrigued and honestly felt passion for the birth experience, like from conception through birth and early childhood. And my sister was actually pregnant with my first niece during my time learning about all the things. So it was really cool to watch her belly grow and hear the things that she was going through. And then my junior year, I actually attended the birth of my second niece. My family knew that I wanted to become a doula. So my sister allowed me to be in the room. She had a pretty normal hospital birth, like what we see a lot.
Yeah.
But it was so amazing just getting to stand by her side and watch my niece like come into the world. It was like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do this. Like I knew I wanted to do it, but I really know I want to do it. And the next year I did my first doula training and I supported my first client about 2 weeks later. So that is how I started.
Oh my gosh. How did that happen? I guess that's a question we get all the time, and I'm sure
Right.
we'll dive into this more, but like, how did you go from training to your first client and birth 2 weeks later? How did that transpire?
So funny. I should have worded it a little different. It was my cousin's girlfriend.
Okay, still.
But yeah, still super like honored to have been trusted and been able to be there with her. But I am happy to talk more about how I got into births after that as well and things. But I don't know if
I think
that'll come up.
Could you share some key insights or like turning points that led you to transition from where you were at after this more mainstream doula training to then hanging out with us at the Indie Birth Doula Academy? What did that look like? What were the turning points for you?
Yeah, so I think I remember attending my first like natural birth. It was in the Amish community in northern Indiana. And I was like, oh my goodness, like now I want to be a midwife. Like this is so beautiful, and like really seeing what birth was. Of course, in the other doula training that I took, they did not. I don't even think we watched a birth video, actually, to be quite honest. Like they didn't really.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. Like now that I'm thinking about it and speaking it out loud, we didn't even watch a birth video. Like they didn't talk about birth. It was more like it was like a weekend for if you want to become a doula. And it was exciting and it was fun, but it really did not, it didn't, yeah, it just didn't go deep for me. And I remember working so hard for the certification and reading all the books. And the certification also felt so silly because it was like, you know, you paid this lump sum of money to do the training and then they want you to pay more to become certified. And it just felt really like it just didn't align with where I was going as a doula. And so I did all the things anyways. And then I get to the part where you sign like their standards of care and practice. And it's like, you can't advocate for people, you can't use essential oils, you can't do a massage if you're not a certified massage therapist, and like all of these things that I just like, even before I knew a lot about being aligned in certain ways and things like that, I just knew it didn't feel right in my body and my heart to practice like that. I was like, I know like my families appreciate when I advocate for them and what that looks like for me. And so it was really important to me to do that. And I was like, I'm not signing this piece of paper that's saying I can't do it. No, even though they're like, what do they know? Like, what do they know that I'm doing? It was like this, I don't want to certify through them. And I don't, and very quickly I realized what it was, felt more like I don't know if monopoly is the right word, like more like a money. Like they just, yeah, that's what it felt like. It was like all these tiers to get through. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right.
Yeah, and totally. Thanks for sharing all of that. And you know, if people haven't already seen this article, I have an article over on our website called Why Doula Certification is Stupid. I think is part of the title. And it actually got published in Lifeway's magazine this year, which is really, really cool. I guess there was something I wanted to circle back and say too, which is that I think you and I both have an interesting background with getting into birth, since like you said, you have not done the motherhood journey yourself yet. I also got into birth work before having children of my own, and that's a question we get about a ton. Like, can I be a doula before I have my own babies? And so I just wanted to say, of course you can. I got into birth work. Angelia here got into birth work before that in our own life paths. And there's also an article over, or no, not an article, sorry, a podcast I did about this on the website. You can go find too. Maybe I'll post it in the link, like the comment, the link in the comments later, called "Can I do a doula training before having babies?" or something like that. So that was something
actually,
podcast
was super helpful for me. Yeah, it was. I listened to that actually, I feel like recently, and I was like,
awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's see.
I know I was sharing about like why I wanted to do the more transformational, so we could pick up there.
Let's do that.
So I think okay. Yeah. So I think I was just saying like how I didn't align with their like requirements and the whole certification stuff and things like that. So that's what led me to doing different training.
Yeah. So in what specific ways has the Indie Birth Doula Academy training changed your doula practice or your skills or what you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, I would say like even after being a doula for 4 years, it was so deeply transformative for me and like myself as a woman in birth, just as a woman in general and being a part of birth work. And then it also was so transformative for my doula business. And for the doula business, I would say it really had a lot to do with connecting more deeply with clients. Like I say this all the time because it's been my biggest takeaway to actually have a deeper connection with clients and to serve them in a more purposeful and meaningful way, and to also walk away with more meaningful connection and things like that. So that's been really huge. And also just for my doula practice in general, I think the biggest thing, and it really does intertwine with the deep inner work as well, is knowing my truth and like being able to stand in that when it comes to birth work, and then just like naturally attracting clients who align with that as well. So a lot of it has been really transformative. Like I said, even after being a doula for 4 years and having a website and having a little bit of a steady flow of clients, like it really helped take things to another level. And I really enjoyed the business portion of it. And I like that you all put that in there, because a lot of other doula trainings do not talk about business at all or don't know anything. And so that was really huge for me, because I will say, as a doula, like, there's nothing out there for the business side of things for doula, and the things that you all have provided were really amazing. And I loved the one-on-one coaching call that I got to do with you, Margo, which was huge and made a big difference for me as well, getting to talk one-on-one with someone who knows what they're talking about. And you really took the time to look at my website and to talk to me about what I was needing and like hoping to look more into and figure out for my business. I would say that as well, just having, you know, a team like Indie Birth, it's so personal. I think it really is. Like, you all really go the extra mile to be a part of the work that we do, and to really talk to us and lead us and guide us in the journey and share your wisdom, truly. So
you're so sweet. I'm so glad that was useful for you. And
yeah,
I think bringing up the business piece is huge. And I always joke that 10 years ago, if you had told me that I was going to be a business mentor, or that I was going to like nerd out on money stuff and business stuff, I would have been like, what are you talking about? I am a feminist, and I just like reading about theory, and I want to be a midwife. And, you know, I was really in that realm of, like, I have a sociology degree. And so I would have definitely not believed you if you had told me I'd be like pumped about all of this. And now I can see so clearly that, and we talk about this a lot in the Doula Academy, we could train you to be an amazing doula, to understand birth, to be able to support women really well. But if we don't teach you the business piece, there's no way that you're going to get that vehicle out into the community to serve the people who need it. And so a doula training without the business piece makes absolutely no sense, unless you're going to be a doula who just works for an agency. Most people that come into our program don't even live somewhere where there is an agency to get hired by.
Yeah.
To be a doula is to be an entrepreneur at this point in the US. And so you need the entrepreneurial skills. And so to leave those out feels really unfair, especially because we've developed them ourselves, both with our online business here at Indie Birth, but also Marin and I both have our practices in actual communities. So why would we not make sure that we share those skills and tools so that you can just take them and not have to reinvent the wheel from our perspective? And just like a fun thing for people watching, I've been building out an entire doula business course that is just separate from the Doula Academy, which is going to have some overlap for sure. But for doulas who've already trained and only want the business piece, there's going to be that option pretty soon too. But it sounds like you got a lot out of the whole thing, not just the business piece, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah. I love the question that popped up. I don't know if you want to.
Sure, yeah. So the question from Jesselyn is, will the Doula Academy be beneficial to someone who just wants to teach childbirth education to begin with? I think yes. There's a reason that we have not put out a childbirth education course or a childbirth educator course and training, and I won't get too into that right now, but basically yes, if you really want to just be educating your community, we have amazing tools in the Doula Academy. It gives you the background and foundation you would need in order to teach childbirth education, and you actually have some literal like slides and swipe files both on labor and the postpartum that you get to take and you can just use in your community straight away if you don't want to make your own things. And so that's where, that's why we haven't put together like an actual childbirth education program that we just sell to people, because we feel like if there's just so much overlap, the people that want that information usually also want the option to be a doula, because that usually gives a better inflow of money and is more sustainable to be doing both if you're going to do both, as opposed to just doing childbirth education. So there is definitely a lot of really great material in there if that's something you're wanting to do. But do you want to say more about that, Angelia?
I was going to say, I definitely agree and can attest to that. And that was one of my favorite parts about the Doula Academy, was the like labor blueprint, where you guys literally give the information to do a workshop and like basically a childbirth education class. And of course it's just like a fount of information. Like I feel so much more knowledgeable and things like that. So I definitely agree that there's a lot to take away, and you could totally do that. And then you also get the business side of things, which is huge for childbirth education, childbirth educators, I'm sure as well. So lots of good takeaways there. And yeah.
Cool. Okay, I've got some more questions for you. So, what were some challenges that you encountered during this transition, and how did you overcome them?
Ooh, I thought about this a little bit. I think the biggest challenge was some of the other doulas in the community, which can be a thing, I feel like, for birth workers. I have a really big doula community here, and honestly, it's like a huge sisterhood. But going into Indie Birth, I think there were some like misconceptions on like free birth and stuff, which really who cares? Because like doulas should do whatever they're called to do. But it was like, yeah, just really learning to stand in my truth, I think was the biggest thing. And also, I'm trying to think if there was any other challenges. Oh, one of the biggest things that I still fight myself with sometimes is really working with clients that I align with, because that was something that I didn't even know existed. And that mainstream doula course did not at all. They're like, take any client, take anyone and everyone. And that is not what fills your cup as a doula. And so many doulas really experience burnout. And I can tell you in 5 years, like I am going strong and I'm so excited to be in birth work forever. So yeah, just like being a part of the Indie Birth Doula Academy, I was able to learn about, or not only go deeper and learn like what I believed in birth and the kind of like births that I want to be a part of and the kind of women that I want to support, but you will also really teach a strong foundation of how to attract those people, and how to really be intentional about who you accept as a birth worker. So that's one of the biggest challenges I faced, was accepting clients who I didn't align with, and it was just not a good match, and things like that. So honestly, the Indie Birth Doula Academy has really helped with that as well. And yeah, stepping into that.
Yeah. So, have you turned some potential clients away then as a result of sort of the exploration and learning that you did with us?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, just learning, like I love the way that Marin says it too, is honoring your yes and no's, and
Mm.
learning how to do that is so huge as a woman in general.
Right.
But then as a business owner, and because you really have to, you just really have to honor what your body and your mind is telling you. So when you sit with a family and maybe you feel like this doesn't feel like the best match, it really is going to like honor and benefit that mom as well, so she can go out and find someone who is a good match for her. So many good takeaways from that, and I've definitely learned how to say no
Yeah.
and honor that. And it's huge. It's a huge step to take, and you're just like, whoa, I just did that for myself.
And like you said, it's like a lesson that extends beyond birth. And that's, I think, the feedback we get a lot from women who take both our doula academy and our midwifery school. We just said goodbye to a graduate of the midwifery school yesterday, and she was just like, gosh, this program has changed me so much as a human. And like, I really think that's what you guys set out to do. And that is what happens through this process. And so, yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, that it's not, that it's something you get to take out into your personal life too. And
oh yeah,
yeah, because the stronger we can be as women, then we can be really good role models and leaders for our clients and help them understand the importance of that too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What advice would you give to aspiring doulas who are considering, either making the shift from a more mainstream training to a more transformative kind of training like ours? I might call it even like a premium training, or like a more full wraparound kind of training, or people who've maybe never done a training at all, who are looking at making the leap, because our doula academy is appropriate for people who have had no training at all, and also is really fantastic for people who are retraining and wanting to go deeper into like more advanced doula studies. So what advice would you give these women?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. For the first part, for people who have done a training before and just are feeling called to something more transformative, I would definitely say go for it. Like I said, even after being a doula for 4 years, and I feel like the majority of the knowledge that I knew was from attending a good handful of births, I still was so like mind blown by the information that you all provide and the intention that you put in the course, when it comes to the business side of things and the inner work and the transformative work, and that it will make a difference in if you have a current doula practice, or maybe you took a training and you're still don't have is the saying, your feet off the ground just quite yet. Like, it will make a difference in you getting clients and putting yourself out there. And even for people who aren't maybe interested in selling childbirth education courses, like, this is also why I love the labor blueprint part, because it encourages you to go out in your community and meet people and talk about what birth is really like. And for me, it was just such a huge shift, and just truly beautiful, and has made such a positive impact on my doula business. And where I am today is so huge and so different, honestly. And I think it has a lot to do with the intentional part. I now know, what I believe in as a birth worker. And before, like, the more mainstream course or doula course really just is, I don't even know that they talked about what birth is. Like, it's just, here's how to be a doula. And when you're able to have the information, you can actually figure out where you are in your doula journey and where you want to be and that kind of thing. So I definitely say go for it, and it's worth training, even if you've been a doula for 10 years or anything like that. And for people who haven't done a training yet, and maybe you're looking for a training or not sure where you are on your journey, I would also say, where am I going with this? If I would have definitely gone with Indie Birth the first time if I knew about it. And if you're going to do a doula training, this training is definitely the way to go, because not only is it still 4 months.
Yeah, it is.
It's not only is it 4 months and so in depth, like, it takes you through everything that I could possibly think of as a doula. And even after being an Indie Birth doula for a year, I still use, and I was thinking about this in my head, was the giant list of birth decisions, which I think you made, Margo. Like, I still use that. Like, it's the resources. Like, there was so much to take away from the course. And I feel like the other course, it didn't talk about what to go over in prenatals and what prenatals were. And it didn't talk about, like, how to support a physiologic postpartum experience for women, which is so huge. And so it really set a new foundation for me. And I just know, for someone who has never trained before, it would set you up for such a good foundation and success as a doula, and not only knowing the important things, but also stepping into the business off to a good start and just really in your truth. So definitely can't recommend it enough.
So we've talked a little bit about the business stuff and how there's a lot of really great support built into the training, but for people who are listening now or to the replay who are really wanting to build a successful doula business, like, what are some actionable tips that you can offer that you feel like have worked the best for you to fast track their own journey?
My biggest tip to doulas or aspiring doulas is to network. And to get out in your community and meet other doulas and birth workers and childbirth educators and midwives and just chiropractors and everyone who potentially is in front of potential clients. And just in general, like, having those connections. I can say, when I moved to this community, I had done some work shadowing as a doula, and then I moved here in Lexington, Kentucky, and my first client ever, paying client, came from another doula who was pregnant and couldn't be her friend's doula. And she had just met me at a doula Christmas party. So, like, it's really good to get out there and to network and to get to know people. That would be my biggest tip. The other thing is to really figure out in your heart, like, the kind of people you want to support and the kind of birth that you want to be a part of, and put that out there. And, like, don't be afraid to really stand in your truth, which I feel like is what Indie Birth has really helped me with. Figuring that out and then standing in my truth unapologetically. And that has really made a shift for me. I know, like, I've been mainly a hospital doula for 4 years, and becoming a home birth midwife, I've really wanted to take the shift and just attending births in general to only attending home births. And I felt that in my heart even before I met Marin and joined the Doula Academy, but didn't know that, like, I could do that. There's so much, I don't know, I don't think guilt's the right word, but, like, other people's opinions and things like that out there. So this training also really helped me just, like, none of that matters, and I need to really listen to where I'm being called on my journey. And so just really being in your truth, and when you put that out there, it really does attract the people who you're meant to be around and supporting and a part of their birth experiences. I'm trying to think if there's any other tips.
With
Yeah.
networking, do you have a favorite way to do that? Do you invite people out to coffee?
That's a
What are
good
some ways you've done it,
question.
what would you do now?
Yeah, I think I used to invite people to coffee and things like that, which actually, now that I think about it, some of my deepest connections here in the community is that's how it began. Like there's a chiropractor I love and she recommends me to a lot of people and vice versa. And we met and just got coffee one day. And also sometimes if people do seem busy, I will just drop off some chocolate and some business cards and just a thoughtful way, or just calling and just saying, hi, this is who I am. I'll maybe drop off some cards in your office, but I just wanted to introduce myself. But really not being afraid to put yourself out there, because I think sometimes it's hard for me to remember too, like a lot of people don't know what we know. And so just putting out there what we do and the ways that we want to support women, it really does make a difference. And I know like this chiropractor I'm talking about, she's always like, you're the first doula I ever connected with, and you're so special to our chiropractor office. And so like those
Mm.
connections make a huge difference. And so even if it is maybe just taking someone coffee, or I know like on IBCLC day, like I'll take them all a cookie or so, like a boob cookie or something, like just being thoughtful and connected to your community. And social media is so huge these days too. And you can really make some deep connections with people through that. And if it's sharing someone's post that you align with, or sharing more about the chiropractor in your community, just as for an example, or an IBCLC in your community, or interviewing them for a
Mm-hmm.
video, those are all fun ways to make resources and also make deep connections.
Totally. Yeah, I think the networking piece is huge, and I actually am gonna, that's one of the things I'm wanting to create a new like class about, just like a basic social media and networking kind of combined
Mm-hmm.
class, because it's so vital. And that's also, what we're teaching in our business portion of the Doula Academy. Yes, we give you the labor blueprint materials to teach, and we also teach you how to like actually get people to show up to your events. And it's not just,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason for that is that when people actually come meet you in person and see your face and feel your energy, like they're much more likely to either hire you or
Mm-hmm.
talk to their friends about you. And then the same goes with like peers and other professionals. I think that's was the number one thing that I did when I moved here, and this is talking a little bit more about midwifery, but at the end of the day it's pretty similar. It's,
Yeah.
I think, much easier to build a doula practice than a midwifery practice, because there's a much wider swath of people who are interested in hiring a doula. So even more tricky, I think, as a midwife. But one of the biggest things that I did when I moved here is, yeah, I taught, I think, 13 different classes in the first year and a half of being here. And I did that at different locations, at a
Mm-hmm.
chiropractor's office who sees a lot of pregnant women, at a church where there's a lot of pregnant women. So just teaching and connecting and, like you said, networking and making sure that people know who you are and that you're a friendly face and someone who also is happy to send people their way, if you authentically want to do that, of course, is so major. Like the word of
Mm-hmm.
mouth is great. I think, like you're saying, social media can accelerate that, and like some of the ad strategies that we teach in the Doula Academy can also accelerate that and get you in front of more people. And then there's lots of like other funny, like novel ways, of course, too, that we talk about. But I love that advice from you. So thank you for sharing that with
I
our
also
listeners.
I had another thought,
Yeah.
and it might not be on the same subject, but just another thing about a wonderful thing about the Indie Birth Doula Academy is the Zoom calls too. The weekly Zoom calls was just a random thought too, because you get this like circle of women that are going through the same journey that you talk to every week. And so really getting to reflect with them, and you all have some really amazing, like I know you and Mary come on, and I come on sometimes too, and Sam, but that you all also are very intentional about having like guests and things like that, to talk to us as students. It's so much benefit from that. It's like a little live class once a week, and community and connection as well.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there that you don't
Yeah,
get in other trainings.
totally. Well, cool. Anything else like that you feel is on your heart to share with people who are, either considering becoming a doula, or maybe they already are and are just wanting to like level up? I mean, you've already shared a lot, but is there
Yeah.
anything else that feels pressing?
I just want to say that I believe in you all on your journey as aspiring doulas. And I've been a doula for a while, but I definitely was there and had just started out. And I think it took me a while to get clients at first too. So just to give all of you hope, because I feel like that is a place to be. And that was before I did the Indie Birth Doula Academy. So I'm sure that would have made a huge difference for me. But just to believe in yourself and to really go for a deeper experience and take yourself on that deeper journey, I definitely would encourage you to, because when you have intention behind, like so much intention and purpose and passion behind what you're doing, it will take you so much further. And I feel like there's no way I would have been able to do that without having the guidance of such, I don't know what the word is, but having the guidance of you all, like just being so intentional in everything that you've known and sharing that with us. I'm thankful for, truly, and honored to still be going through the journey of learning from you all. And yeah, I feel like I still learn new things every day that take my business to another level.
It's awesome. Yeah, continually learning more and growing more. And we're so honored to have students like yourself. And like, this is our baby here in the world. And I think everyone who trains doulas has a really amazing, noble goal, which is to get more doulas out there into the world. I just happen to think that we are doing a better, more effective job of it. And that's the reason. And if people don't know this backstory, which you probably don't, like, this was actually the most recent creation that we've made here at Indie Birth, was the doula training. We did not start out with the doula training. We started out with midwifery training and programs and courses for parents. But we had so many people coming to us asking for doula training from our perspective, and basically like begging us to make one, because so many of the other offerings, particularly the big name offerings out there, are just really leaving people without what they need to then implement it. And I don't think that they're malicious, and I don't think that they're like jerks. I think just when you get that big, when an organization gets that big, and then when like certification gets all looped into it, and there's like a board and there's a this and that, the content and the support often get watered down, and they often lose sight of, is this actually working for the students? And so we don't ever want to get to that point. So we intentionally are a pretty small organization. We definitely want more people in the program because we know that it works, but we never want to get to the point where we're churning out like 1,000 people a month out into the world who know a little bit but don't ever actually implement it. Like, it really is important to us that the people that we train actually get out and do the work. And so that's where a lot of like the stuff that you've touched on today came from, that inner work, overcoming imposter syndrome, building your confidence, making sure you feel like you could explain. And this got touched on a little bit earlier in the childbirth education piece, but if someone is a doula but doesn't feel like they could also be a childbirth educator, like, they shouldn't be a doula. That's my opinion. And that's the opinion of Indie Birth. Like, those, like, a doula should also be able to educate a person about the birth process. Otherwise, what are they doing there? That seems like a baseline thing that every doula needs to be able to do. So even though it's not a childbirth education course, it covers everything you would need to know in order to then go teach childbirth education, if that makes sense. So I'm all over the place here, but basically I'm saying, like, we've gotten all this feedback over the years from people who have done other trainings, and they've come back into us and said, hey, I'm missing this piece, I'm missing that piece. Is there something you have to offer? And we've made sure to put all of those things into one package.
Yes.
So I guess the last thing I'll say is that we are offering a deal for people who are watching this or the replay of $100 off of our Doula Academy if you enroll before the end of June. So like the stroke of midnight on the last day of June. And I will put that code in the comments somewhere in this live, somewhere people can see it. So if you're interested in that and you don't see it for some reason, you can also just DM me and I will see it that way and I will get that to you. And like I said, that offer will be good through midnight on the last day of June.
Yay. And if I can say one more thing.
Please, go for it.
I feel like a lot of people in this group and women out there really want to make a difference for women. And that's like why we're on this journey. And I can say, if you want to become a doula and do doula work, you can take any training. You can be a doula. But if you want to really be a part of the change in the birth world and really be a part of women's experience in a deep, meaningful way and make a change for women, I really recommend the Indie Birth Doula Academy. So that'll be my last little splurge.
Thank you. And yeah, there were a couple questions somewhere in the group that like I said, I couldn't find. Maybe you can go check those out, or I can tag you in them, Angelia. And if people have other questions for Angelia, feel free to post them here in like the event or in the main becoming a badass doula group, and we will be sure to get to those and make sure you get your questions answered. If you have other things you want to hear about, there's an airplane, a very loud airplane flying above my head right now. If there are other things you want to hear about in terms of doula training, becoming a doula business, obstacles, the actual work, birth stories, like whatever, if you have ideas, feel free to share those. I think my intention is to be more present here in this group now that some other projects have wrapped up, and to make sure that people who are here who want to learn more have that opportunity. So feel free to share what's on your mind, and we're here to support you. Thank you, Angelia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for
having
being here and for sticking it out through the weird technical issues. Next time I'll be sure to turn off my screen time nanny.
I love that. I need that.
That's right. All right, we'll talk soon, okay? Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, guys.